The interrogator pulled me to the room and asked me to lie on the bed on my stomach. With one fast movement, he tied my hands and feet to the bed and started to lash the bare soles of my feet with a heavy metal cable. I heard unknown scream come out of my mouth. A sharp, unbearable pain moved from my feet all the way up to the deepest cells of my brain. I started to repeat to myself, "It will end, it will end, it will end soon," to bear the pain from one moment to the next. These were the words a political prisoner during the time of Shah had repeated to himself. I was repeating those, screaming those in my head during the Islamic regime. At the time, the Shah, or the King of Iran, ruled powerfully, and Jimmy Carter was the President of the United States in 1977. At the age of 19, I was a teacher and an artist when I met one of my relatives who abandoned her sleeveless dresses in favor of headscarf. Inspired by her for the first time, I read the Quran. It affected me greatly in a way I transformed, in a way that I felt so much joy, maybe the most joyful time of my life, by practicing the religion the way I understood it. But I must say, a window opened to me, to the world, to me, but I was not completely knowledgeable about what it was. I was not aware that Islam has been a political tool of the day. I joined the 1979 revolution in Iran, which ended the Shah power, but replaced an Islamic regime which did not regard the promised freedom. I joined an opposition group and dedicated my time to distribute pro-democracy newspaper on the streets in Tehran. In 1981, the Islamic regime banned the new free press, and I was arrested. Besides the physical difficulty in prison, no form of art, creativity, and even sport was allowed. When my cellmates who knew I was an artist granted me the only notebook in the cell block 8, I drew their portraits, but it was taken away as if every bit of individuality and livelihood needed to be vanished. It is always true that independency and identity threatens the power structures based on unquestioning devotion. Eventually, 15 of us ended up in a secret prison. We were severely tortured, forced to kneel for months, blindfolded, in complete isolation. The moment we had under the torture is not easy to describe, but I would say that what they wanted from us was very hard. They wanted us to call them brother, implicate others, lie, and admit guilt where we were innocent. I refused and was singled out, taken under severe torture in a way that I ended up with a major injury on my feet. For a while, I couldn't even walk. But I could not betray others or lie. The interrogator came with another plan. They separated me from my friends and decided that I must be one of the women in charge of the prisoners. I would not imagine how that would affect my own being. I had no idea. But being a guard next to the informants, watching my own friends suffer was against my dignity. But they told me I had no option. For 6 months, I served the food, swept the rooms, took my blindfolded inmates to use the bathroom, and hang their wash clothes in the cold, snowy winter until that damn day. A day, the interrogator sent for me. He waited in the torture room. A young, skinny woman I knew lay on the bed, the same bed I had taken hundreds of lashes a year before. The interrogator pointed at me to be quiet so the woman on the torture bed would not know I was there. The woman was saying, "Don't beat me, brother. I have told you the truth. We didn't have organization in the cell block 8. That was what we were accusing of, organizing the prisoners. And what we really had done was only one thing. We had not participated in the Thursday religious ceremony held by the Islamic system in the prison." The interrogator looked at me with a cold, commanding expression on his face and gave me a metal cable and pointed at me to lash my inmate. I wanted to say no, but I couldn't. I was trapped in the terror of the moment. I feared if I say no, he would accuse me of being a spy and severely torture me. I grabbed the metal cable. It was so heavy. In my head, I reasoned, my lashes is less painful than his. I started to lash that young, innocent woman. 1, 2, and 3 lashes. The interrogator reached for the cable with a satisfying smile and pointed at me to leave the room. I left. But the pain of what I did never left me. I remained in prison for 5 years. And I immigrated to the United States, even living in a great democracy. My academic education and my art didn't set my mind free. The pain of those moments that I had been a part of a cruel and unjust system never left me alone. My art was a testimony of my true sadness. My images were dark. My women figure were broken in pieces. Finally, in 2003, a Jewish friend of mine tried to help me through faith in God. And she took me to a mosque, a local mosque, but I had no desire to go back. My dark memories of oppressive and organized religion were my strongest reason. But I started to read the Quran again in English. As my studies advanced, I started to recognize and distinguish and understand the source of the problems in the Islamic world. I learned Islam is being severely corrupted by man-made laws, innovation, interpretation, and specifically and especially idolization of religious and political leaders. God's laws throughout the Quran clearly advocated freedom of religion and freedom of expression. It prohibits any kind of oppression. But we see religious leaders and political leaders can mislead millions of people in the name of God. They disregard people's lives, rights, and properties in the name of God. But any power based on false values can only pull people in for a short while. In fact, putting a religion in a service as politics is denying the fundamental right everybody needs to decide their own moral path. God has given us hearing, eyesight, and brain, and we are responsible for using them. As my mind became clear, I felt it was me coming out of the darkness. The dead person I had become, I felt, became a fertile ground for me, for a new birth. My faith became a way for me to approach the problems with the intention to achieve peace. I believe it is our individual responsibility to find a way, the right way, to build our life and our community, world community, based on mutual respect among all the nations. Imagine for one moment, please, what if it is truly possible to reach the peace and happiness we all desire? Thank you.